What's up? T.O. here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight. You know what? Tonight we're actually going to come a little bit closer to home. We've been going way out there. We went way out west Texas. We've been down in southeast Texas now, all over the place, but we haven't really done a lake that's been fairly close to home in a while. And so tonight I wanted to go back and talk to you guys about a lake that's been requested a few times, and that is Lake Weatherford. So we're going to jump into Lake Weatherford tonight, see what we can uncover on that lake on the Google Earth side. And then obviously we'll follow it up like we always do with the Navionics mobile app and talk to you guys from a contour perspective where we think some of the key spots are that you need to be fishing. So stick around. Got some good stuff for you on Lake Weatherford. Here we go. Just like we always do, before we jump into the actual lake breakdown, first thing we got to do is jump out here to the Texas Park and Wildlife page and see what all this lake has to offer us. There's very good information out here, just if you're going to the lake for the first time, just to kind of get a general understanding of what is going on. And I think Texas Park and Wildlife does a great job of updating this site and keeping all the information current. It's just a really good site. So make sure you take advantage of it. You can always just find it just going out to Google and whatever lake you want to fish. Like if I want to fish Lake Weatherford, I'm just going to type in fishing Lake Weatherford and you'll see Texas Park and Wildlife will be a couple of the top hits that you'll see in Google Earth, or sorry, in your Google search, and you can just click on it that way. So let's go ahead and talk about this one. Surface acres is 1,158 acres. Its location is just east of Weatherford off of US 80, 180, about 19 miles from downtown Fort Worth. So not too far from Fort Worth area. So the pool elevation on this, 896 feet. Fluctuations 2 to 8 feet annually. You could see some fluctuation in this. So I was able to get some pretty good images for you guys to be able to, find some underwater stuff that you can go fish. So we'll be definitely checking that out soon. Let's go ahead and move on down. Let's talk about vegetation. It says little vegetation exists. Really didn't see too much. You do have cattails, American lotus can be found in the upper end of the lake, but there really wasn't a ton of vegetation here that I saw. As far as predominant fish species, largemouth bass is number one, white bass, crappie, channel catfish, and sunfish. When we looked at the lake records, if we click on that, that's always fun to look at. Go out here to largemouth bass. The biggest lake record is 1237 back in 1999. So not too impressive. Lake Weatherford, not too impressive. Somebody can beat that. Surely somebody can beat that today with the way that we protect the fish now, even though they are pressured. Texas Park and Wildlife does an awesome job too. I'm betting that gets beat here very soon, or it's already been beat. It's just not showing here on the lake record. So moving on down here, if we look at the angling opportunities, largemouth bass fishing shows that it's good. Catfish is good, crappie is good, white bass is fair, and sunfish is actually excellent. So you can come down here as well. You can see some tips and tactics that you can use. It talks about spinnerbaits and worms work in the spring and the fall, just kind of general stuff. Sometimes there's some good stuff in here. And in this case, there is. If you look far enough and you take the time to read it, you'll see right here. There are 12 aeration diffusers that are located near the dam. Certain times a year, multiple diffusers can be in operation, causing bubbles to rise to the lake surface, which attracts, I'm basically going to start just paraphrasing it, attracts the bait fish. You get the bait fish there, you get the predatory fish, you get the crappie, you get the bass, you get all that good stuff, you get everything going, and it can be a really good area to fish around. So pay attention to these diffusers. And the good news for you is we have that marked on the Google Earth side. So that's it on the Texas Park and Wildlife page. Let's jump over and let's show it to you on the Google Earth side. Well, here we are on Google Earth, and I'll explain all of this over here on the left here in just a second. But we were talking about the diffusers. Here are all the diffusers. Now, these things were very difficult to find because basically what I had to do is I go through each year. I couldn't find any coordinates for them, number one, and somebody's probably going to send them to me and I'll have the exact ones, hopefully. But if you have them, but if not, I'm pretty sure I've got them really close. If you're in this area, you're close to a diffuser. So it would definitely be worth your time, especially in the summertime, to get out here out in the open and see if you see any bubbles around any of these diffusers. And if you do, stop and fish them for sure. So I've got them marked out there for you. Let's go ahead and talk to you guys real quick. If you've never seen a lake breakdown from me before on Google Earth, I always start over here and just kind of tell you how I broke this lake down. We've got Lake Weatherford here. We've got channels and ditches. So if I zoom this back, there's not a lot of channels and ditches on this lake, but see these little green lines? There's a green line there, and there's a green line right up here. Those are going to be your creek channels or your ditches. So you'll see those all highlighted in there. We've also got different types of cover that's out here. Let's go ahead and just do this like this. Different types of cover that's out here. So that's your debris, your bushes. There's a pipe there, some laydowns, ledges, just all kinds of stuff that I was able to find on the Google Earth side. Here's your diffusers that are all out there. You've also got offshore hotspots. That's what we found using Navionics mobile app. We went out there and all these markers, you see where it says marker 170, 169, 167. So there weren't a ton of offshore stuff on this lake. Obviously, it's a smaller lake as well, so that makes it a little bit tougher. Then you've also got ramps that are out here. So all kinds of different ramps. Can't believe there are this many ramps on such a small lake. And then we've also got rocks, just different types of rocks all along the lake. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing and let's talk about it. I'm going to move this box over. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. I'm just going to come down here by the dam right here. We're going to start right here. So see where this little green thing is? And you're like, what in the world? Why does he think there's rock there? Why does he have that? That is actually a little ditch that you need to be fishing around. And here is why. I'm going to show you. Let's close. You can see it kind of there. But if we keep going back, now we're in 2016, and you'll notice there's a pretty decent little ledge there around that rock. But right in here, this looks like it could be a really good area for them to set up in a little honey hole to go check out. It might not be anything, but to me, that looks like a really good spot. I would definitely go check that out. That's right here, just down from the dam. Now, usually I'll start at the dam and work my way to the right, but I just wanted to start there. So that's where we're going to start. And now let's start working our way to the east. So as we move over here, first thing in here, obviously, is all this riprap. So you've got a lot of riprap along here. You've got some additional rock that's a little bit further out. So if I zoom in here, you're going to see it. There's a little drain that's right in here. And there's some rock that's all in here. There's some rock right there. And there's additional rock pile right here, just kind of an isolated little area. Now, that looks really strange right now. You're like, why are you marking that stuff? Because it's out of the water. But if we pull the water up, it's going to look a lot different. Now you see the rock off that tip, and that rock that I showed you that was way out there, it's completely under the water. This is really cool. It's always cool to see this, these drains like this. So I think if the water gets up so high, that thing will actually start funneling the water out. So pretty cool. Could be wrong there, but I think that's what it is. We didn't really have things like that in Missouri. So when we see things like that now, I'm always impressed by them. Again, you got some good rock here off this point too, like that rock too. Same exact thing. And then let's keep moving on. I need to get back here by 2016. I wasn't even far enough out. There we go. And we're going to come down here. Now, here's all the diffusers. Again, I told you guys about those earlier. You've got some riprap that's down here. If we get over here to this side, there is some additional rock that's over here. Now, you've got rock that's along the seawall here, but it's really, really shallow rock, but it is rock. But if you come out here just a little bit further off, you actually have some isolated little points that are out here. So you've got one here, another one here, one right there. That's going to be a really good area to just set up with. Set up with a shaky head or something and just hit each one of those points. And I'm telling you, you're probably going to catch a fish in one of those four areas because that's just a really good spot to set up at. There's not a lot of a rock that's really in this lake. There's rock, but there's not a ton of it. So these little isolated piles are really good areas to find some fish. Now, if that diffuser was on and that rock actually comes out here, that would be even better. I don't think that rock comes that far out, but you can definitely check it out. You've got some ramps that are over here. So an old boat ramp that's right here, some additional rock that's up in this area, 3 ramps that are in this area right here. Now you're wondering why I do the boat ramps. If you've never watched these before, that is a great pattern to run. You definitely want to check it out. Just go up there and just one day, just say, you know what, I'm just going to fish boat ramps. It's definitely a good thing like when you get later on in the spring, it can be a really good pattern. Just go up there and fish around the rocks that's around the boat ramps, fish the boat ramps themselves, with wobbleheads and jigs and things like that. And you'd be surprised at what you'll catch. And if you can get on it and the pattern's on, you can really wreak some havoc because you've got all these ramps marked. And a lot of people that you're fishing against are not going to have all those ramps marked. So move up here, we've got some rocks around this little point here. So you can see here some shallow rocks. I could see this being a good area. There's also a little ditch that's right in here. And again, sometimes those ditches aren't anything, but then other times they just collect fish. They're like fish collectors. So you always at least want to go by, throw a couple casts in there, just see what's going on. More ramps. Again, very surprised at how many ramps were on this lake because it's really not that big of a lake, but it's got a ton of ramps. This right here was interesting. I don't know what this is. So I just put in there to check it. If I raise the water up, it basically is a concrete slab that's under the water right by this dock. And what I'm thinking is that's going to collect algae and all kinds of other stuff. And when that collects all that algae and stuff, then you start getting all the different bait fish and stuff that comes in, eating on the plankton and stuff. And then you know what happens there. Then the crappie come in, and then when the crappie come in, then the bass come in, and then it's just a really good ecosystem. So I could see that being having some really good potential. And if you look at it, if I zoom out, it's right off the tip of a point. So it has a lot of good things going for it. I would definitely go in there and check it out. I just put check there because I'm really not sure what it is. I think it's a concrete slab. It looks like a concrete slab, but I could be wrong. It could just be cleared out there for some reason. It just looks strange on the, on the Google Earth side. So let's keep moving on up. If we look in here, right by this ramp, there's a little ledge, and it's like an old pond that was here. So you've got this little ledge that's right in here. That could be a little muddy area too, just backing off there. More ramps. We got tons of ramps. I mean, it's just ramp city. Ramp, 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 ramp. And these people don't put brush piles out, man. If you live on Lake Weatherford, what the heck, man? You got all these ramps, but no brush piles. We need brush piles. Let's throw some brush piles in there. Look at this, guys. This is the craziest thing. I think the only other lake that I've seen that had this many ramps is like Lake Travis. Lake Travis has a ton of ramps, but all these ramps that are in here. But again, if you're on a boat ramp pattern, you are looking really, really good because you've got pretty much unlimited boat ramps to fish here. You've also got a nice little pond that's back here. So if we get back in here, if the water gets up high enough, you can get back in here. You've got some riprap and some rock that's in here, but a real deep pocket that's right here back in the back. So you definitely want to go check that out. And then we just keep lining up, ramp, ramp, ramp. I'm not even gonna point them all out anymore because there's just so many of them. But there's a ton of ramps. Now, some of them are better than other ones. Some of them are up a lot shallower. Some of them come out a lot deeper. This one comes out pretty deep, you can see, and then this one's really shallow. That one looks newer too, but you never know. These are all could be really good spots. I mean, there's no brush piles, right? So they're either gonna hang on to the ramp, feed on the ramp, and then probably pull back to the dock. That's what I'm thinking. But you definitely want to look at these. These can all be good areas. But again, I don't think every one of them is going to be because there's too many of them. If there weren't so many ramps, it would look a lot more promising to me. But there are quite a few. Now, when we zoom in right here, though, finally getting kind of something different. One, you've got this ramp here that looks like it's never used, but you've got a couple stumps that are out here. And so in this area right here could be a good area to check out. It's right where that light brown dock is. Now I've got a lot more ramps again. Coming up here, more ramps. Didn't really see any brush piles, no rocks, nothing special. A lot of ramps here as well. I think everybody can have a ramp on this lake. And then when we get up here to the side here, if you zoom in really closely, you can see there's two isolated rock piles. One's right there and one's right here. And it's right off that tip. Now, if I move the lake up, you're not going to know what tip I'm talking about, but it's right here. And so I've got a mark for you guys. It's going to look a lot different than what we were looking at just a second ago, but those rock piles are right off the end of that. You can just barely see them, but they're going to be a lot bigger than that. Not going to be huge, but they're going to be bigger than what it seems like here on Google Earth. There's also some additional brush that's right in here. This looks like buck brush or something like that. Not buck brush, but those willows. I can't remember what I'm trying to. I just call them stick-ups, but old willows. But that area in there, that could be a good area to look to. So definitely check that out. As I move further back in here, we've got this little shallow rock. I guess you call it rock or debris, whatever you want to call it, but we'll call it rock because it's concrete. And then back here, I mean, we're talking shallow, 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 but you got a little ditch that's in here that has a some additional rock that's right here along this edge. So we move on down through here. We've got some more brush again right in here. And if I move that up, you're going to be able to see that brush a little bit better. So now you can see. Now this is all good stuff to flip around. So earlier I talked about there being some brush right around in here and talked about flipping around that. You know, it almost makes its own little point there. And so that could be a really good area to flip around that brush. Those isolated rock piles were out there. Up here, here's that brush again. So you can flip all this stuff. This is all good stuff to flip. I'm not saying particularly this stuff right here on this lake, on this spot, but that type of brush is definitely good stuff to flip around. So get really tight to it, throw up way far up in there and just check it out. Now the spot that I marked, the brush, I marked that because if you notice, it's different than everything else. It stands out all by itself. It's all isolated out here. So this spot right here and this spot right here would be two areas I would focus on first. And then I would come back in here and fish all this other stuff. Now we also have a nice little creek channel that comes back here. So I've got that marked for you guys with that track. So as long as you stay on that track, that's going to keep you in the middle of the creek channel. Now that is not a boat lane. That is just a track that's showing you where the creek channel is. We've also got some brush that's back in here. There's some additional debris. I'm going to have to draw this back down again so we can see it. But there's a little brush pile there. And there's some debris that's out here. These look like, I don't know. At first, I thought they might be the Texas Park and Wildlife cages or something like that, but they're not, or those fish attractor things. But maybe they're just crappie things that people have put in here. But you can see there's 4 of them, and they're right here in this flat that's back here. So go look at those. Those could definitely attract some fish. There's not a lot of stuff in that area for them to be attracted to. We get down in here. Here we go again. We're going Ramp City. So Ramp's crazy. A lot of ramps to fish. But hey, ramp is rock, and there's not a lot of rock on this lake, so don't just think that the ramp thing's not worth marking. It's definitely worth marking, definitely worth trying to fish, and maybe it's a ramp plus something else that's your pattern. So just keep working on the lake. I'm sure it looks like it could be a very fun lake to fish. We've also got another ramp here, another ramp there. Not seeing any laydowns. Maybe something right there, but it's kind of hard to tell if that's just somebody that has some junk out there since the lake is down and maybe they're out here swimming, or if that's actually a rock. So I didn't mark that one. There is a pipe right here though. So if you look at this, and if you've ever watched my breakdowns before, these pipes, sometimes they can be really good places to find fish. The fish will get like really, 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 really close to the pipes. So you have to really fish close to that pipe and around that pipe, but these can be some really good areas. So go fish that pipe and just see if you can find anything there. Some more ramps that are back in here. Each one of these docks has its own ramp. Then you've also got some rock. So if we look back in here, this spot looks interesting. I don't think you can come back any farther than here, but you got a little ditch that comes in here and you've got rock right around these points. And if I move this up to 2022, you'll notice it actually looks like there's more rock here, but there's not. It's just the way that the water is up. But this looks like it could be a good spot. Little honey hole here off to the side. All right, so I'm going to move this back to 2016. And we're going to keep moving on down. Let's see if we can finish this. I think we can do it. I think we can finish this in one video with it being a smaller lake. So let's keep moving on down. We've got some more laydowns in here, or not more, but first couple laydowns we've came across. We got one there and one there. And then you've got some rock back here. You probably can't fish too close to this. That's probably your line there. But definitely fish these 2 little points. They've got some rock off the edge of these points right there by the power plant. Moving back here, here's again the bush, the flipping stuff that you can, which I can't even think of for some reason on this video, but those willow bushes, there we go. You want to flip all of those where it says brush. That is basically your willow bushes. Again, if I move it up to 2022, actually you can't see it in that one, but you got some good brush here. And then if I zoom this back, there we go. You can see the brushes here too. So that's going to be some underwater stuff. And if you can find that brush when it's underwater like that, this is 2021. and this is 2022. And in 2022, at least in this image, according to this is March of 2022. That brush is completely under the water. So you can do this stuff in West Texas too, from what I understand. You can get right on the outside of that brush, right where that hard line is, and fish just right off the outside edges of that brush. See if you have some luck there. Obviously, you can flip in it and stuff like that, but just see if you have any success doing that. And then you've got a good creek channel that comes through here as well that you could check out. If I move that back to 2016, let's go on back. You can see we got a pretty good little, I guess it's a creek channel or a ditch, I guess you could say, that comes right through here. And again, they'll collect in those ditches. This ditch actually runs right through that brush. So that spot right there where I have brush and that little creek channel or ditch, that's going to be a good spot to take a look at. A lot more ramps coming through here. Didn't see anything from rocks or laydowns or anything like that. There is some timber and some rock and stuff like that over here off this point, though. This point looks good. This point's got a lot of good things going for it. One, it's got some timber that's over here. So you can see here, if I put right here, some standing timber, and it's got the rock. So I love all that. It's got a nice little rock point that comes out here. If you kind of scoot down over here, this looks like it's got a hard surface as well. Which again, if we're looking at this in, when the water's up, this looks so much different. I guess that timber's not there anymore because they built a dock right on top of it, but I bet the logs are still there. So you can go check that out, see if it's still underneath that dock. Here's the rock that's totally covered up. You've also got more rock that's out here as well. You can see I've marked this as an offshore hotspot as well. And there's some rock out here outside of this dock down here too. So we'll zoom this back. 2016, and you can see here's that rock. So again, that point's probably like one of the best spots I think we've seen since I've been on Lake Weatherford. If I was going to go out there and fish, I'd probably put a lot of focus right there in that area because I just feel like that's a really high percentage area to catch some fish. So then moving down here, we've got some more ramps, some rock that's down in here too, right where this boat is. Now, normally that would be underwater, but a pretty good sized boulder and a couple more rocks that are back in there too. A couple rocks too up here behind this. Where I missed that ramp. There's a ramp there. There's another ramp here as well. And there's some rock that's back behind this marina. So if I were going to come up here and fish this, I would come up around this dock and I would squeeze myself in here and I would fish right in here. Basically what that guy's doing. Just fishing around that rock, see what you can find, and then pull off and fish around the dock and see if you can find anything around the dock. You got some rock outside of this side too, but it's not nearly as much rock as you have on the inside. Moving on down, we're already at the end. That's it. That's right where we started when we talked about the little drain that was there and we had the little ledge and the rocks. So that takes us all the way back to the beginning spot for Lake Weatherford. Next video, what we're going to do is I'm going to go in and use Navionics web app to pull up the contours on this lake and show you guys what we were able to find from an offshore perspective. Now, I will warn you, there wasn't too much to share with you guys, but I'll share with you what we found, and hopefully it'll help you guys out next time you go out to fish Lake Weatherford. Hey, please make sure you go out and check out our website, simplisticfishing.com. You can get all of these waypoints plus the offshore stuff that we'll talk about all onto an SD card where you basically just plug it into your card you take the card, plug it into your graph, and off you go on your own, or you can actually get the digital file, which the digital file I will email to you, and you can take that file, copy it to an SD card, put it in your graph, and do the import that way. So lots of different ways to do it. Make sure to go out and check it out, simplisticfishing.com. And until next time, guys, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.